Here to look at this particular issue, which is Kylie Mounsell, who asked the question about Google Classroom has a spell check enabled which uses English spelling. And I provided the answer yesterday, which was back in issue 11 of news.t4l, which is how to fix the language in Google Apps for Education, as it used to be called back in 2016. It's now, of course, called G Suite, and it talks about doing these steps. But Chris Matthews has since come in and said, thanks for the tip. I just tested this out, changing the language to English Australian and removing English United States in both Google Drive and Google Chrome browser. Started a new doc after these changes and selected English UK as the language in the file menu within the doc. English Australian wasn't an option. Doc's changed its margin, but it's still recognizing words such as recognize, summarize, etc. as spelt correctly. Is that a Google thing, or is it something that I'm missing? Okay, let's demonstrate exactly what's going on here. So if I go into my drive, for example, and if I go new and I go Google Doc, what we've got in here, I'm currently set in here to US English, and that's why it's showing me inches across the top. And when I type in some words in here, for example, recognize, it recognizes it and it accepts it. It doesn't put a little squiggle under it. If I type in recognize that's spelt wrongly, it does put the little thing under it that says, hey, you've spelled something wrong. And if I right click on it, it says, did you mean recognize with a Z, a Z? So it's American and it's giving me that recommendation. But it recognizes recognize with an S because that's still a valid word and a valid spelling of that particular word. So is this, it's still a valid spelling. So is there any way that you can adjust it so that it ignores recognize with a Z and says that that's spelled incorrectly? Let's find out. So the instructions were go back to your Google Drive, go to settings and go to settings. And if you scroll down a little bit, well, it's actually there on the screen, and there's an option to change the language settings. When you do that, it opens a new tab. You'll see my default language is English United States. So what you want to do is add another language. And if you type in English and select that, you'll see Australia is on the list. So you want to select Australia, select, and then you want to move that up the list so it's the top, the default language. Other languages that you understand, if you don't want American, you can delete that particular language. Okay, so what has that done, if anything? We should be able to just close that and say done on that. And if we go back to our doc here, it still shows up as that, but if I refresh my screen, it's now showing me centimeters. So it's done that automatically, which is nice. But if I type in now summarize with a Z, again, it accepts that because in the English dictionary, summarize with a Z is an accepted spelling. But if I spell summarize wrong, and if I right click on it, it gives me the Australian recommended spelling, which is with an S. Hope that made sense. The last thing was that he talked about the spell check in the Chrome browser itself. So that's found if you go into settings in here, which is down here, you'll find the spell check is under advanced and languages. And in here, I've got the default language as English United States. And what you do is you want to use spell check for English United States, select that. If you want to adjust the language, you need to go add languages. Again, you type English. So this is not while you're in G Suite, this is just while you're in the browser. You select English in there, you add it, and we want that to move that to the top. So that is the order of the language. And with the spell check, you want Australia on, United States turned off. That should make a difference when you're in a text box of some type. So say I'm in what might I be in? Let's go into my Yahoo Mail and compose a new message and get rid of this rubbish and type in recognize. That's now showing as spelt incorrectly, and it wants me to change it. So Google Chrome will do the spell check of the Australian and give you the recommended spelling for that. But when it's in G Suite, it does seem to accept both spellings because they are valid. Hope that clarified things and helped in a little way.